Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a Veyle build. Alright, so Veyle is a unit you get very late in the game. You get her in chapter 22, and you can customize her afterwards. And her base class of Fell Dragon, Fell Child is decent, but its bases aren't that good. And if you put her on Griffin, she actually gets a lot of speed, and she gets a lot of stat increases. So she essentially becomes almost immediately viable. Not that she's not viable, she's just like decent on her base class, but on Griffin Knight, she becomes like a really good combat unit just by putting her on this. So first, let's talk about weapons. So you want to be on Levin Sword. Levin Sword, Griffin Knight makes the most sense for her. The Flame Lance isn't that good, Hurricane Axe isn't that good. So you want the big damage of this. You also get speed, you also get staff use. And then for the other weapons, you can run Treat or Mend, Physic, Obstruct, Restore, Freeze, Silence. I think Silence is C, right? It might be B, but you can at least run Freeze if you want. Mostly she should be attacking with Levin Sword and then patching people up as needed in between combat. Now it is endgame, so there's just enemies everywhere. But having Restore, having Heal, having Obstruct, these all are very useful for endgame, especially if the difference between an Obstruct tile or not is someone dying, or the difference between something getting restored to something dying. Very useful to have. But you also get a good combat unit. All right, for engravings, I actually because she's so late, you get her so late, a lot of your engravings are going to be used up. So I'm going to start with the engravings that are like the least likely to be used. So when you get her, the Alir engraving is unlocked and not before, right? So this reduces damage and weight by 1, but it also increases other stats. So it's a really good engraving for her. So it gives you hit and crit plus 10, hit, crit, avoid, dodge plus 20, might minus 1, weight minus 1. This helps her wield the Levin Sword. She has a little bit of build, but she doesn't have enough where it's weightless, so this reduces the weight, which allows her to double more consistently. So I think Alir engraving is the best engraving, because by the time you get her, all of these are going to be used except for Celica. But Celica is good for reducing weight by 1. Lucina is good for the hit and avoid plus and reducing weight. Sigurd is one of the better ones because it increases damage, hit, avoid, and reduces weight. But this is going to be highly contested, but it's just here just so you know that you can use this if you want. Lyn is decent because you get weight reduction. You do lose some damage, but you also get hit and crit. Mostly using this for the weight reduction. And then Martha is good for damage, but it does not reduce weight. So I would say Alir is the best because it's not going to be used, or Celica. Both of these are usually not run. Okay, so for passives, Sword Power is the best, I would say. I think this build should always have Sword Power, and you can run Speed plus 5 or Speed Taker or Canter. So I would always run Sword Power and then one of these. Now, you can avoid running Speed plus if you do something like Super Instructing. Like you can get a Covert Byleth to give you Speed plus 5. You could get an Alir Dragon type Byleth to Super Instruct to get Speed plus. You can use Speed Tonics. If you're using DLC, you could use Rally Spectrum, which gets you speed plus 3. So you don't necessarily need the speed because she's very fast. And if you speed boost her with external sources, she can get up there and then just run Sword Power Canter. But if you're not running any of those tactics, speed plus 3 to 5 is totally fine. And then Sword Power 2 to 5, whatever you can get. So you can't go wrong with like speed plus 3 and Sword Power 2. She comes with 2.5k SP. That'll get you that, a little bit of speed, a little bit of Sword Power. Even just Sword Power 2 is plus 4 damage per hit. If you're doubling, that's plus 8 damage. On top of Levin Sword and her base magic, she should be dealing good damage. Next, we have the middle row. You can run Hex on her if you want to debuff. You can go the agility routes for dodge tanking if you want, because she's going to be very fast. And you can stack her avoid. And then for the bottom row, you can run quality time. Now, these are like the best. The middle row is like okay, and the bottom row is like something you can run, but it's not really the best thing. It's just decent. You could run quality time on her for chip healing or holdout so that she can survive a single combat with something that would kill her. Because it is endgame, so this is like pretty useful. Because if you have a bunch of quality times, you get free healing. If you have like 4 or 5 of them popping off constantly, you don't have to actually actively heal as much because you're constantly getting health. So it can be useful to have. But I would say Sword Power Canter, Sword Power Speed Plus are probably better. Speed Taker might be a little bit too much for her, just because you might already have a few Speed Takers. And if you have a few Speed Takers, she's going to be competing. But there are a ton of enemies endgame if you're not warp skipping. So she is going to be getting, speed plus 10 on speed taker pretty reliably because there's just so many enemies. For the finale, the emblems, I think Marth is her best ring for the same reason Alir is the best engraving. You get Marth back when you get her back, and Marth allows you to get extra attacks in. So when you're engaged, you get an extra 50% hit in. So she'll double and then get that third hit in when engaged. She can also lodestar, and she can also get an extra hit in when she breaks. Marth does also improve speed. He improves strength as well, but really you'd be using him to improve speed. So you get a speed increase on top of her getting a speed increase from changing to Griffin, and you can get another speed increase from doing speed plus, and then you can get the extra attack while engaged. So for 4 turns, you can have an extra attack and push up her one rounding potential through speed and through divine speed. So I think Marth is the best because of availability. So both of these I think make the most sense. Byleth is a good option because you get magic and speed plus. That's really the only reason. So it increases speed and your damage on Levin Sword. That's really the big advantage there. Celica is good because she's not highly contested and she gives you magic plus. I think she gives you up to magic plus 5. So that's very useful. She can also warp rag and give you access to an effective corrupted tome. So, because you're still a magical class, basically, as a Griffin Knight. It's like a hybrid, but it still is good at magic. And if you improve it with stones, like if you improve the effective corrupted versus, or with stones, you can deal pretty huge damage in one-round things pretty easily while engaged with Celica. And, of course, you can warp Ragnarok for chip damage or guaranteed damage on bosses or just for repositioning. And you can echo if you want to leverage chain assists. And then also Sigurd is good for the build increase, reducing the weight of the Levin Sword, the free canter, and for Levin Sword overrides. Also the momentum damage plus Levin Sword override is decent, but Sigurd's like a decent option for. I'm trying to put the least contested ones, so like Marth, Celica, and some degree Sigurd before like some of these others, because I'm assuming a lot of these others are going to be used. So like Lyn. Obviously, Lyn would be good on her. It gives her speed plus, can make it so she doubles very consistently. She wouldn't have to run speed passives, so you'd run like sword power and canter. But Lyn is going to be used on someone, so that's why it's in 5th. I think Martha is the best because of availability, and it just is very logical. Because Marth is good on a lot of physical units, but I think magical units dominate this game. Like Levin Swords and Tomes dominate the game. But like units like Panette, Kagetsu, Marin, they can run physical. Chloe can run physical. Tamara can run physical. Jade, Louis, things like this. Corrin is also a good option just for increasing damage with magic, as well as debuffing, getting the free quality time, freezing enemies. So she could like kill something with the Levin Sword and then debuff, like freeze the allies adjacent to that target or put good damage on it. But I do think Marth is the best option. These are just some of the options. Overall, this is a build you can run for the last few chapters. The freest version of it, meaning the version that will cost you the least. So like, let's say you're either not using the well or you're dumping all of your SP books from the well into other units. Get her 11 sword to like +2 to 3. Higher is better. Throw the Alir engraving on it. Hand her Marth. Get her sword power 2 and speed +3. And that's the freest version of this. And then you can get her higher speed plus or sword power if you have SP for it. And you can also boost up her bond rank with Marth so that she has higher base speed when Marth is equipped. So that way she can double more consistently and also get that extra hit in with divine speed. And then Byleth is decent and Celica. These are the top 3, I would say, for this build specifically. But yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoy these build videos. I do live stream from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST. I've been live streaming an Engage Chat Sabotage run recently, and then after that is done, I'm going to be doing a 3 houses. That's where people can suggest, bad moves to make in some cases, or suggest unit rules that I have to follow throughout the entire mission, like per chapter. And then you can also super chat chaotic things in, which kind of makes it funnier, like stupid rules that I have to follow or things I have to say, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely like and subscribe. Peace.